I feel very happy. But shall we begin? But thanks to Dory, it's going to be on YouTube. And I have to tell everybody about the miracle of today. Okay. It all started with the Russo family. All of you remember why I'm doing this painting. Because Eric said, let's do a painting which shows who we really are. Because someday when the history books will speak of our period of time on Earth, they'll only talk about war, slavery, Holocaust, people shooting children with automatic rifles. But Eric said, that's not who we are. That's a small segment of the world. But people are completely different. It's just the ones who practice kindness and keep the world going are not mentioned in history books. Unless they're kings and queens. And to Eric and me, the Russo family were among the people we admired the most because they had children, and one of them was born with a lot of physical problems. And what they decided to do was to just have a home filled with love and let little Teresa be as important as if she didn't have a single handicap. And they did it. And Kenny, can you point where I want to paint that family? And then I'll tell the problems that we're solving.
Sure.
It's right over here. They made a foundation called the Teresa Foundation. That picture up here is what the other children made as a design for the organization. And in that organization, the mother, Susan, taught dancing, and they funded so many artworks and things to teach people how to survive. And I wanted to put in the children in here, where Kenny just showed you, but my hand shakes so that I couldn't do the kind of expression to put the features in. Kenny, could you get up and go over to the stock exchange painting to show the size I used to work on when I did a face?
Sure, well I can do it from here because you're connected, so...
Just to show the details that I did to make resemblances.
You can't see it, but yes.
Yeah. And that brings me to another story. I had a commission from somebody in the stock exchange to do the people in his office. And Kenny, were you just pointing at the painting? Or could I tell that story?
Oh, sure, tell that story and then also come back to what you were saying about the Russos and painting the children.
Okay.
Yes.
But it has to do with resemblance. For me, the joy was getting resemblances. I can still do them with pencil, but with my shaky hand, I couldn't put an eyebrow where I needed to. And you know, when a face is as big as the smallest nail on your finger, you better do it precisely, or the nose and the mouth run into one piece. But anyway, he asked me to do his office, and I did. And I checked the resemblance on everybody. I didn't stop the resemblance unless the person I was painting said it looks just like me. And when I had finished everybody in that office, I went to the secretaries and I said, does it look like the person for whom you are the secretary? And when they thought it was exactly right, I called the commission, the man who commissioned me, and I said, I'm finished, come look. And he looked, and he came, and he said, who is that, and who is this, and who is this? And I said, these are your people. He said, but I don't recognize them. And I said, but not only they approved the resemblance, but I spoke to each of their secretaries. And so did they. He said, I'm sorry, Eddie, I don't recognize them. And I said, okay, I'm not leaving until you sit down with me and we go over each face. And he said, okay. So we went over the first one, and I said, tell me what you don't recognize. He says, I don't know who this is. My people dress crisply and cleanly. And these people all have rounded edges. And I said, people do have rounded. I said, let me try this. And I began to fix the shirt collar and the tie. And he said, that looks like him. And when I had everybody so that he approved and said he recognized everybody, he said, I found out what the problem is. And I'd like you to hear this. He said, I see linear and you see round. And I had learned that everything comes from a curve, because I had learned that there is no line that doesn't have a round ending, that even a toothpick, if you use a magnifying glass, doesn't have a sharp edge. It is rounded. And when Vince Russo heard me saying that today, he said, that's how I see. I only see linear, which is I often don't recognize people. And it hit me. We see differently. In the stock exchange painting, everything is linear. They get rolls of paper coming out. They're not even teaching in school how to do this. I grew up learning to do this for penmanship classes. And so what happened today, Kenny was experimenting, and it's miraculous. Kenny, now you can turn to this. Okay? I put my glasses back on. Watch my fingers. Kenny, if you can get as close as you want to my fingers. Look.
Can I just add something?
Please.
To what you're saying?
And any comments?
Yesterday, Hetty was just so sad. She said, I can't paint anymore. I can't paint. My body won't do it. It can't do it because of the tremor. It's just impossible. And she was really upset. And so she's been working and thinking about this. And this is what she came up with.
What we came up
What
with.
we came up with.
We found out that I don't feel secure. First of all, look at my fingers. Okay? You want to point the hand there. You see how it trembles?
Mm-hmm.
What Kenny did, he experimented with the stick, with boards, with everything. And we settled on this, which is elevated, just gently. And if I sit like this, it doesn't tremble. I went with Dory yesterday. Dory is here. And there was a lot of ice. And she said, that's okay, if we move this way, we can get you out of the car easily. But I couldn't. Even though she held me, I couldn't. Until my body was trembling. Until suddenly I grabbed hold of the handle of the car, of the door, which was so solid that if I touched it, the car did not move. And I realized I can only tell my hand that everything is safe if nothing wriggles. So what Kenny did now, I'd like you to see, okay? You see, if I go like this, can you see the finger?
Mm-hmm.
Can you see it moving? It moves here. It moves everywhere. But when I am lying like this, I can hit wherever I want to, and it shows. And to me, this is like when Christopher Columbus got permission to have the ships and go out and discover, as he said, America, even though he wasn't the one who discovered it, I think. But you see what I'm able to do? I'm able to blur. I'm able to make lines. I'm able to paint. Because tomorrow I'm going to start by painting the little Russo children in there. Because my idea had been to do what I call a multifaceted
Multimedia
artwork. And the Russos came with pictures of the children. And I said I could do them in pencil. Because with pencil, I rest everything easily. I don't draw like this. I'm flat on the paper. But I wanted to cut out the photos and paste them on, which made Kenny get wild. He said, Mom, you can't do that. You can't do that. And when I saw Vincent Susan Russo, and I mentioned it, they shook their heads and said, Kenny is right. And so, tomorrow morning, when I'm fresh and healthy, I'm going to try, and you're going to see it week by week as I put the children's faces there. Vince is easy because he's got a beard and everybody knows him. Susan is not easy because she doesn't have a beard. But it's the kids that make me excited and I'll have Susan there. And I don't know how long it'll take me to do it. But I'm not stopping. And I love you, Kenny. But you spent the night today with me planning. Could you show what you tried, Kenny? The cardboard, the pillows, the everything.
Oh, it's in the other room.
Oh,
we tried cardboard. We tied things together. We tried the mall stick, which is over here.
All and the cushions.
Cushions.
All to make sure
wrapping her hand
that
with
my
rubber.
my hand would not shake.
But then she found this solution, and she was so sad yesterday.
Yeah,
but
I was brokenhearted. Kenny, read the comments.
They're actually, well, okay, there may well be comments, but I don't see any of them. So I don't know why that is.
Because they're listening.
Yeah, we have lots of people listening. Fran Rosenberg is watching, Ed Weidman, Yola Patakas, Phyllis Cooper is watching, Danielle Gruss is watching, Lauren Ruff, Michelle Carvalho, Marcia Goldstein-Graber, Mary is watching, Jody Barnofsky, Kathy Goldman Parker, Cindy Greenberg, they're all watching. But if any of them have left any comments, for some strange reason, I cannot see them.
Okay, but if during that time, let me make an important comment. On chats, I've been getting a lot of messages, but they're messages which can't be answered. Like, how are you? How are you doing? How would someone answer that? So I spoke to somebody about it, and I said, is it rude that I can't answer? Because how, in this limited time, can I answer, how are you doing? So, what people told me today, I'm not supposed to answer. So please forgive me. I will never answer. Because social media is boring.
So we do have comments. They just popped up.
That to me is happiness.
Want me to read them?
Unless they just say, how are you doing?
So, Marcia Bart Isman says, so happy you found a solution. Dina Sheldon says, brilliant, to give your arm the support. Your brush and imagination can still flow. Brilliant. And Marcia says, you go, girl. And Carol says, your passion and sense of humor delight me. And Jody Barnofsky says, it's nice to see Hetty after too long a time for me. And Carol Hodkin says, it makes me sad that you were brokenhearted.
Yeah.
Tammy says, it is not rude to not answer. And Marcia says, I am sad that you were so sad. I hope today is a better day.
Today is wonderful.
And Lauren Ruff said, I hope you're doing well. And Amy Lauren said, how are you doing? Is way too simple of a question for a multi-layered person like you are, Hetty. Julie Williams says, I'm in hysterics. How do you answer, how are you doing? Ha.
Thank you, all of you. Now, let me...
Kathy says, I believe in you, Hetty.
Thank you. Now, come and watch. First of all, I want you to see, let's do something which will show you that I can do movement. Look at this. Look how it shakes. But because of this, if it were flat, it didn't work. But because it has a little bump here, it bounces. I'm so excited. Okay, let's have fun. Let me do something that I couldn't do before.
And meanwhile, Kathy says, I believe in you, Hetty. Phyllis Cooper says, looking younger every week. Kathy Goldman Parker says, Hetty, you are an inspiration. It's all inside you. Just let it out. And thank goodness for Kenny for helping you.
Oh, really?
And Sandy says, Aunt Hetty, Ismail, and I hope to see you soon. And Julie...
So wait, I want to say something about Sandy. Go ahead, Julie.
Julie says, these weekly sessions are your answer to how are you doing. You are doing beautifully and inspiring us all. And Tammy says, yay for Kenny.
Then do I have time to give something to Sandy, to say something to her? Sandy sent me something that blew me away. And it was supposed to be Einstein who said so. But Sandy, I didn't know how to print it because it was under chat. And I don't know how to print that. I can only print direct things to my email. But what that saying was attributed to Einstein, that when he came up with the theory of relativity, he didn't have a word for relativity because nobody had ever used that before. And he thought the only word that he could use would be the word love, about relationships to the world. But he said that we do not yet know how to deal with that. It would have to be future generations. Because right now, we're not capable of loving. And I want this painting to prove about love, because everybody in the painting practices kindness. And so many of you, including you, Sandy, have been in a painting that I've done. So I would like all of you who have been painted, do what Eric said. Make a written statement with your name saying how you see yourself. Not how the world sees you, but how you see yourself. And I don't know whether Einstein said it or not, but I think we'd better say it, because there are too many people practicing hate. I love you all. Let me work.
Meanwhile, Dina says, Team Hetty Kenny. And Amy says, because Carol had said, it makes me sad that you were brokenhearted. And Amy says, me too, Carol. Isn't that just heartbreaking? Think of Hetty being sad.
If there is no sadness, how could we understand happiness? I love you all. Good night.
Oh, no.
Oh,
We still have 5 minutes.
Oh, good. Then let me show them an area we'll paint. Oh, this Harvey Wiesenberg is another person who's in here who practices love. And I wanted people in there who are able to have a handicapped child and help it. And the Russos are that. And that's why the whole thing that I'm talking about now is because they were here today and we talked about how they tried to figure out, before Kenny showed me that I do not have to tremble when I work. Okay?
Mm-hmm. And while you're working, Kathy Goldman Parker says, Hetty, your smile shines.
Thank you.
Tammy Smith points out that ice cream helps everything.
Yes.
Michelle Carvalho says, watching you and listening to your wisdom is better than anything that's on all 1,000 channels of TV. And Kathy says, I wrote it for you. I would do anything you asked. You're my friend who loves to giggle.
She wrote something, you know, over here. Kenny, can you point? Her little cat is going to be there. It's not a cat, it's a puppy. And I won't talk about him tonight because there's no time. But I said, since I'm putting him in, I need a sentence of how he sees the world. And she sent me the most wonderful sentence. And Kenny, she came by email, and I printed it, and it's there for you to read.
Should I read it now?
No, because I want to paint him
Yes.
when I finish him, because he, unfortunately, is so wet. Now, what I have to do is to give Ricky details now that I can do details. If
Now,
I find the correct brush.
Dina says, meow. Kathy Lahan Cawthorn actually says Cooper passed away 2 days ago.
Yes,
He loved Teddy.
I know. I know. But she wrote how he sees the world. And all of you who love a pet know that they are verbal. But it's a secret kind of language that they share with us. Kathy came once when I was painting, and she brought Cooper, and they were outside on my deck by the window where I was painting, and he watched me. And whenever she said the name Eddie, he would get excited and prepare to go to watch me paint. Good night, all of you. Kenny, thank you. Look what you did for me.
Yay. And Hernan says, much love from Hernan.
And Hernan, I'll see you soon because you've given me such gifts. He's been photographing my family since Jessie was little. And he sends a photograph saying 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and where he did my whole family, and me in it too. And I can't tell you how it touches me. Good night, everybody. You're watching me on a triumphant day, thanks to Kenny. Thank you, Kenny.
Oh, and Amy is giving you hearts, and Marcia says, bless you, Hetty, and Dina says, love you both. Thank you for your gift of love, both of you.
And according to what my niece Sandy said, that gift of love comes straight from Einstein.
Oh, yes. Tammy says, love you. Amy says, that smile. And Denise says, good night, Hetty.
Good night.